What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Gotham Season 3, Episode 12, Ghosts. And this is everything I wanted out of this episode. It was all so good. All of it. Well, most of it. There were a couple issues I had with the whole Jim and Lee stuff, but we'll get to that. First of all, I want to focus on probably the biggest surprise out of this episode for me, and that is the Enigma and Penguin stuff. I've talked about how much I hated this storyline, how frustrating it was that they spent so much time and just lengthened what could have been easily a 2 or 3 episode thing. This episode finally makes it all feel worth it. Like, I know that sounds weird, like one episode can change your mind on an entire story. Well, here's the thing. The entire time I thought that they were going to go this whole, oh, Penguin's turning evil again because he likes Nigma, and Nigma doesn't like him back because he likes this other girl, so now that's because that's the reason Penguin's going to turn evil, and that's going to be his downfall. I'm like, seriously? Penguin, one of the, not best Batman villains, but one of the most cruel, like, human Batman villains. Most of the other ones are either crazy or they've got something going wrong with them. Penguin always felt human, but he was very cruel. Like, he felt probably the most evil, because everybody else had some sort of excuse, whether it was something traumatic happened to them or something like that. For Penguin, it just felt like he was just jealous of Bruce Wayne and what Bruce Wayne's family did to Cobblepot's family. And so I was always like, just watching this story, I'm like, this is really how we're gonna tell Cobblepot's story? Like, oh no, he liked a guy and the guy didn't like him back, and oh no, like that's why he turns evil. This episode proves to me that's not what they're doing here. You know, obviously he did some cruel stuff. He killed Isabella to try to find Nigma's affection, but this clearly shows why he's gonna turn evil. I mean, you could kind of figure from the very first moment of the episode, whenever he sees his dead father, you could probably kind of figure out that Nigma probably had something to do with it. I mean, I was 99.9% sure that Nigma was behind it. What I didn't realize was that he recruited the guy with the changing face thing. I completely forgot about that guy after last season. I forgot he existed. But yeah, I thought it was going to be a hologram this whole time. It turns out this guy is actually, like, helping Nigma through all of this. And it was a brilliant setup. I mean, first of all, he's seeing his father, and he's freaking out because it's his dead father, and all of a sudden his father's remains are dug up and are stolen. And then his dead father is telling him, don't trust the birthday boy. And all of a sudden, he realizes his new chief of staff, it's his birthday. And so he goes into his office, sees some tracks leading to a secret room which has his father's remains. Here comes the chief of staff, and he kills him. There you go. There you go. That is the story I expected. This is the type of stuff. And the fact that this is what it was leading to. You know, it wasn't leading to, oh, Penguin gets jealous, and so that's why he turns evil. No. Penguin got jealous, so he killed Nigma's girlfriend. Nigma finds that out, and now Nigma is going to drive him insane because of this. That's a good story. That is a much better written story, and I'm so happy that they actually did something good with this, and didn't just turn it into a high school drama. This is more what I expect out of Gotham. So, I'm sorry, I just wanted to get that excitement out, because I just got so happy that they didn't throw away this story, that they actually did something interesting with it. So thankful. So anyway, that's that story. I like the fact that we got to see how it all came to an end. You know, how Nigma planned all of it at the end of the episode. But the other story obviously going on is Jim's story. And he's actually got 2 separate stories going on in this episode. The first one, this girl shows up on a slab, and she died after having been dead for 2 days. And so they're like, wait, what's going on? And so he finds this doctor who's running the morgue. I think it was the morgue. Yes. And he starts asking him questions, you know, how is she alive? And so they follow this doctor, and they see there's clearly something wrong with him. This is the part of the episode that I got a little bit frustrated with. Not because of what they did, you know, with the whole Joker cult going on. I'm happy that they have that. But the previews and all, like, pretty much everywhere you looked on social media, anything to do with Gotham, it was all about Jerome is returning. So this whole thing, finding out the Doctor was part of the Joker cult, or Jerome cult, really wasn't a surprise because of that. And it's kind of disappointing to me that, once again, the previews ruined something that could have been, what's this Doctor up to? And they show that pen for a second that has a little Joker smile. It's like, oh, wait, is this what I think it is? Is this what I think it is? And then he goes into the cult, and then they're talking about, chanting his name, talking about how Jerome is pretty much their Lord and Savior. And it's just, that could be something that would be really shocking if they hadn't revealed this 2 months ago. So that's the only issue I have, really. Well, the only issue I have with this story. I have one other story with the Jim and Lee stuff. Like I said, get to it. But this story I really like. I like the fact that they're bringing back Jerome just because he was my favorite part of season 2. But I feel like this was so, it was just so built up that it really could have been something shocking. It could have been like, holy crap, Jerome is returning, if we'd found out now. But we didn't. We found out 2 months ago, if you were on social media at all. So, yeah, a little bit frustrating there, but it's interesting. Jim and Harvey go to this cult, and then they break up the cult, they beat up some guys, they start going after the Doctor, but took too long, so they lost him. And then that story gets put on the back burner, because all of a sudden Victor Zsasz shows up. The other storyline going on, of course, Jim has killed Mario because he was trying to kill Lee. I actually had to go back and watch my last video to see what did I think was going to happen, what did I hope was going to happen. And pretty much what I thought was going to happen did happen. We've got Lee, who blames Jim for it, wants him dead, actually. This is the problem I have. I understand that she's upset. I understand that I understand that she's hurt. I get that. But she went down the murder train way too fast, in my opinion. It's one thing to say, arrest him. That I get. But to tell Falcone, I want him dead, that's completely against her personality. And even when she finds out Mario did have the virus in him, even then she's like, so what? We could have cured him. Woman, I don't care if you hate him for it. You shouldn't want him dead. That's completely against her personality, in my opinion. I don't know. It just, and the other problem I have with this is it feels kind of pointless, because as soon as she sees Barnes and sees how crazy he is, she's like, oh wait, Jim was right to kill Mario. And so now the hate's gone, and now she doesn't want Jim killed. And why did she want him killed in the first place? I'll tell you why. Because we needed some sort of reason for Falcone to want to try to kill Jim and then not to want to try to kill him at the end of the episode. That's pretty much it. If she hadn't said, I want him dead at the beginning, he probably wouldn't have called the hit in the first place. And if she hadn't changed her mind at the end, he wouldn't have called off the hit. He still would have tried to kill him. So the fact that it was centered around her wanting him dead, that's what made this, oh, it's intense, guys, Zsasz might kill him. The only intense thing about this is I wondered if they were actually going to kill Zsasz off. I figured they wouldn't, just because this show doesn't have the guts to do anything like that. It doesn't have the guts to kill off any characters that may appear later. That's my biggest problem with the show, is that it could take some serious chances. I mean, Zsasz, he's a main villain for Batman later on in the comics and shows and video games and stuff like that. But he's not the main villain. He's not a big villain. He's not a big character. If you wanted to kill off Zsasz, I'd be like, good call. I didn't see it coming, and he is one of the biggest henchmen for Falcone. So that's an interesting story to tell. That is an interesting way to take this. But the fact of the matter is, we see Jim getting chased down by Zsasz. He's not going to die because he's the main character. So he goes into this restaurant. These two henchmen working for Zsasz show up. Jim kills both of them instantly. And then Zsasz shows up, and I'm just like, okay, so here's the moment where, for some reason, the gun stopped working. Zsasz is shooting at him. Eventually, Jim takes him, and they start fighting, fist fight, and then Jim knocks him out, pulls out his gun, click, click, there are no more bullets. What a coincidence. yeah, there's no, I don't know. I wish I could look past that and be like, oh, this is an intense scene. If I didn't know that, I'm gonna pretend I don't know that, but I can't pretend that. I know they're not gonna die. I know neither of them are. And that's really disappointing to me because it just takes so much intensity out of a lot of these fights. But anyway, long story short, Jim heads back to his apartment after all of this. He gets back there looking for a gun. Harvey shows up with a shotgun to help him out. Zaz shows up, starts shooting up the apartment, has Harvey at gunpoint. Jim has him at shotgun point. Here comes Falcone to save both of their lives. The other thing I said I only had one problem. The other problem I do have with this is Zaz's reaction at the end of all of it. From what I know about Zaz, now this could be a completely different Zaz. Like maybe later down the line he develops the need to cut himself, but the Zaz that I've seen in video games and in some of the other incarnations of Batman has a desire to cut himself. So he has to kill and then cut himself for it. That's something he needs to do. So the fact that Falcone calls off the hit and he's just like, okay, boss, and then walks out, no problem, I don't believe that. I think the Zaz that I know would be like, but I need to kill. You told me to kill him, I need to cut. I need to cut myself. And he would not be okay. He'd be freaking out. He'd be like, I need to cut! And probably freak everybody else out. But this is just, I don't know. I know story-wise, he has to stop wanting to kill Jim or else the story would never end. But as far as a character goes, just like with Lee, I think that goes against his character. I don't think he would just walk out and be okay with it. So that's the entire story there. Finally back to Jerome at the very end. We see the doctor talking to this other guy that he's been working with. Apparently they're trying to work on bringing people back from the dead. And then they go down to the basement and we see a bunch of people on ice. And Jerome is, of course, one of them. So, yeah, very interesting. Very good build-up there. Overall, I mean, the Jim storyline was a good one. It was very interesting. It was not as intense as I wanted it to be, but it was still interesting. It was still fun to watch. It was fun to see Jim have to take on Zaz, even if he didn't kill him. The other thing that I need to talk about, though, with Jim is something that I remember saying in my last review. I was wondering if Jim was possibly infected with Alice's blood, just because of how he reacted to some situations. I mean, there was a moment where you could tell Jim had figured out Mario wanted him to be at the wedding ceremony and tell Lee how he felt about her. And I'm just like, you figured all of this out, and yet you're still just playing right into his hands. Like, you're still doing everything he wants you to. Why are you doing this, Jim? You're smarter than this. And then at the end of the episode, he shows up, Mario has a knife out. Instead of just threatening him to put the knife down, he just shoots him and kills him right away. Like, no hesitation, no stop, no nothing, just kills him. And so I was wondering, what if Jim had been infected with Alice's blood, and that's why he was reacting so irrationally? Based on this episode, it makes it seem like he's not. We see him rationalizing the kill. Harvey even says it's a good kill, which I still don't know how the police managed to figure that out. Like, well, I guess if you analyze the fingerprints on the knife, you can see that the knife was held in a stabbing motion instead of a I'm coming to help you cut the cake motion. So I guess based on that, you could say, okay, well, yeah, the police figured it out. But I don't know, to me, it feels like this episode did not say no to that prospect, but it also didn't really help the idea. The one scene, though, that stood out to me, maybe it's just because I'm looking for something to help my theory, the scene where he's walking out and Zaz is knocked out on the ground. He did just sort of point the gun at him and click, click. It was almost like he was doing it without thinking. Like, I don't know, the motion was so robotic. It was just walking, click, click, and kept walking. And it was like no reaction. No, oh, I'm out of bullets. No, oh yeah, I'm doing this ironically, and tossed the gun aside. No, he did it, and then he kept walking. That kind of plays into the idea that maybe that's just his mindset. But then again, the scene at the end where we see Zaz has a gun to Harvey, and Jim's got a shotgun to the back of his head, if he was infected with Alice's blood, I feel like he would just shoot in no hesitation, just like he did with Mario. So, yeah, don't know, don't know if he is or isn't. Maybe this is just like the beginning stages of it, so he's able to control it at some moments, but then other moments he's not. Uh, Possibly we'll look back on these scenes later and we'll see that he's hearing voices or something. I don't know. I hope that's the reasoning because I'd hate for that entire last episode to have happened and none of it really played into anything. None of it was Alice's blood. It was all just Jim acting like an idiot because, oh, he loves Lee. It's just too simple for me. I need more interesting reason than that. So, the final story to talk about is the Bruce and Selena stuff. We met Selena's mom at the end of the last episode. She helped him escape with whatever the Court of Owls were looking for, this statue thingy. And so we have the cliche storyline of Selena hates her for abandoning her, leaving her in an orphanage. The mom has a good reason, but Selena doesn't care. And so then Bruce has to help them get back together because he doesn't have parents of his own. So he feels bad for them that they don't like each other and don't get along. So yeah, simple story. The only thing that bothers me about all this is that it kind of felt needless. I feel like we could have just gone through all of this in maybe a quick little segment of quick clips of seeing them arguing and then seeing Bruce talk to her, and then they're back together. I don't know. I just didn't need all of the build-up when we know where it's going. We know that by the end of this episode, Selena's going to be okay with her mom because it's her mom. It's her mom, who she's wanted to see for so many years. So I don't know. The interesting thing about the story, though, is at the end we see Selena's mom is apparently she owes money to somebody, and then Selena tells the guy, "Oh, I know Bruce Wayne. I'm friends with him," and for some reason. Don't really know where that's going. Don't know if this is just something to add more tension to the plot. I don't know. But apparently her mom is not somebody to be trusted. And also there's kind of a weird little possible romance forming between her and Alfred. Like, I don't know if Alfred's just a gentleman to every single beautiful woman that he meets, or he's just overly like talkative or something. Like we saw this last season with Lee. There was a moment where he was just like really flirty with her. And then he finds out Jim is dating her, and he's just like, "Oh, you could have told me." And so in this episode, he seems kind of flirty with Selena's mom. I'm like, Alfred, are you a player? Do we need to have a talk about this? But yeah, that storyline didn't really interest me as much as everything else going on because the stuff with Penguin and Enigma was so exciting and interesting. The stuff with Jim and Lee and the Jerome cult was so fun to watch, and while there were problems, it was still interesting to see what's going to happen next. What's going to cause Lee by the end of this episode to say, okay, I don't want him dead. Because you knew it was coming, but the fact that she had to go visit Barnes and see, oh, he's crazy, and realize that's the reason why, it's well done. It had problems, but overall, still good. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on this episode. I'm looking forward to next week, see what's going to happen. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What did you like and dislike about this episode? What do you want to see next week? Let me know. We can talk about it, discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Gotham reviews, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace out.